Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you our 3 top list writing tips as we move into Warhammer 9th edition. I'm Stephen Box and it's my mission to help you become a better 40k player. Now at Vanguard Tactics we like to take a competitive look at all things 40k, but we do support absolutely every way to play the hobby. And we've helped hundreds of people just like you improve your skills, knowledge and strategy to help you become the best general at the tabletop. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a real constructive way of designing a competitive army list that really plays in the true spirit of your army. So before we kick off, all I want you to do is comment below with which army you collect, and we can maybe see which one comes up to be the most popular. So my number 1 tip is to play to your army's strengths. Now, in order for you to do that, you really need to develop your knowledge in terms of what the army actually does, how it functions, so you can really get the most leverage and mileage out of your army. So for example, it might seem really obvious to many of you, but this is missed all the time, and this is something that I pick up on with a lot of people's different army lists that I critique for them, is that they're not playing their army in the true spirit in which that army plays on the tabletop. So let's take Blood Angels for example. Blood Angels, when we look at all of their main buffs and abilities, so when we look at their chapter tactic, they get +1 charge and also +1 to wound on the turn in which they charge. So this is straight away saying this is a very melee based army, so it's going to excel in combat. So what does that mean for us? Well, an army which is playing most of the game in the combat phase is going to probably excel a lot better than a Blood Angel army that's trying to shoot their opponent off the table. Yes, it can be done, but is it the most competitive, optimal way to run it? Probably not. And are you going to get the most mileage out of it? Again, absolutely not. So we're taking that competitive lens rather than what you could potentially run. Now, along with that, you need to make sure you know what all of your support characters do, what warlord traits you have available, the relics at your disposal, and then also stratagems, and then combining that with the unit strengths, okay? So what we're going to look at is some of our key buffing auras and abilities that maybe some of our characters provide. So let's take the legendary Sanguinor. He gives you +1 attack in combat, again supporting the belief of the Blood Angels really having this kind of combat and melee focused army. And then what we want to do is try and go, okay, well, we know that the army plays well in the combat phase, so which units can we utilize which we're really going to leverage the most out of that? So let's look at the Blood Angel Codex. We've got Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, straight away 2 very heavily combat based units which are going to plug really well into this list, rather than maybe taking like a Leviathan Dreadnought or maybe something like Whirlwinds, which aren't going to get any of the buffs and abilities from those designed Blood Angel characters. And we go one step further, we start to look at some of the relics where we can get, for example, reroll any of the dice on the charge, or maybe some of the stratagems which allows you to fight twice or get a 3d6" charge. Again, it's all steering us in that direction of melee, combat and charging. Whereas we could take a different look at another army, completely different. Let's take Tau for example. All of their buffs and abilities are around the shooting phase. So again, a Tau army really wants to excel in that phase. So making sure that you're playing to your army's strengths is really going to help you, which is probably why something like Tau, which is much more obvious in terms of a shooting list because they don't have much combat, we see often Tau players just doing slightly better on average than we might see the average Blood Angel player, because it's too tempting with Blood Angels to maybe go in different directions. And that's true for absolutely every single faction. And if you want to know more in terms of how that faction should play, then I've done a really good overview, deep dive into every faction, and the link will be below in the description, so go and check that out, and that will give you a good overview of where that army should steer you as a high level view of that army. My second tip is to read the mission pack. Now, by the sounds of 9th edition, it sounds like everybody is going to pretty much be playing the same mission set, which is absolutely fantastic. We won't have such diversity across the board board that will be literally pick up and play the game. So the first thing that you need to do is read through all of the missions very carefully. Now, what we do know already is that there's going to be a primary mission and then there's going to be secondary missions in which you can select and choose from, very much like how the ITC used to function. So the first thing you want to do is read through all those mission packs and decipher exactly what you need in order to be successful. So if, for example, there's a primary mission where only troops can hold objectives, then maybe you want some troops in your list. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle on the primary and you're going to have to just constantly focus on tabling your opponent in order to win that mission, because you're not going to be able to hold objectives potentially. If, however, there's other aspects in terms of secondaries and you're going to need key units from your codex to achieve those secondary missions, then again, you make sure that they are in your list. So if one of those things is to kill monsters or vehicles, you need to make sure your army has a plethora and also a redundancy in killing monsters or vehicles, because otherwise, if you just take one unit that's capable of doing it, your opponent's going to see it, they'll remove it, and all of a sudden you're not going to be able to remove those key monsters and vehicles of your opponent. So you building in some redundancy to make sure that you can complete the mission set is going to be really crucial. So go through the mission set with a fine-tooth comb and highlight on every mission what your army needs to consist of in order to be successful. So point number 3 is to plan and prepare your CP and stratagem spend. Now, for a 2,000 point game, you're going to start with 12 command points, which is no matter what army you're playing, that's what you're going to start with. You will have to buy your detachments and you will gain a CP every single turn if you are battle forged, and there's other ways to regenerate and regain CPs. However, the problem comes is when you're going to be focusing on trying to use too many stratagems and you're going to utilize them or use them far too early and not really have a plan. So the first thing that I can suggest for you to do with your stratagems is to go through all of the stratagems in your codex and make sure you're highlighting the key stratagems that you want to leverage and get the most use out of. Then what you're going to do, rather than trying to utilize all the stratagems in the codex, come up with a plan. This is your pre-game stratagem spends, which could be to buy detachments, or it could be, for example, warlord traits and relics that you want to take in order to make your army function. Then you know this is key stratagem 1, 2, and 3 that I need to play over turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if I gain any more, maybe I've got some other options to bring in stratagems that I might need to play, which might be more situational, rather than not having a plan, getting to the tabletop and just kind of spending stratagems and command points without any direction or strategy. Then you're going to find yourself short and in situations you're not going to be able to do and leverage your army in the best way that it could possibly be run in. Now, if you're interested in really accelerating your knowledge of 9th edition, as soon as 9th edition drops, myself and the Vanguard Tactics team are going to be putting out a free video course on how to play 9th edition with loads more top tips, and in order to get access to that, it's going to be completely free. You just need to sign up using the link in the description below. And again, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel for more competitive 40k. So until next time, stay safe and I'll see you soon.